Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Emily. I tutor the Abecedarians, and today I'm going to share what we did for new grammar and review for cycle 2, week 7. We ended up not doing everything I had planned because we were going way over time on everything. I think it's because we had a break week this week. We're just kind of getting back in the groove. But I'm going to share everything that I had planned, even if we didn't do it, so y'all can have some ideas to use. So the first thing we did was geography. We went over the European peninsulas. First, we located them all on our map and we pointed to it and said it 3 times. Scandinavian Peninsula, Scandinavian Peninsula, Scandinavian Peninsula. Say that 3 times fast. We talked about what a peninsula was, how it's surrounded on 3 sides by water. So every time we found a peninsula, we pointed to the water around it. Then, because the peninsulas have so much water around them, it's probably a good place to grow things, right? So we used these little pumpkins that I got from Dollar Tree. They were decorative. I took this little wire out and we placed these around on our map. So we planted our pumpkin patch and then we picked our pumpkins and moved them around. There are some fun ways to remember some of these different peninsulas, so I'm going to share those with you if you want to use them in your class. The Scandinavian peninsula kind of looks like 2 fingers pointing down. So you point down from the Scandinavian peninsula, it goes from 2 to 3 peninsulas below it. So you can kind of remember there's 3 below it by doing that. The Iberian Peninsula, to me, it kind of looks like a woman's head. Portugal looks like the face, and Spain to me looks like hair kind of like flowing behind the face, if that makes sense. So on a face you would see an I, so Iberian Peninsula. It's kind of a stretch, but it might help. And then the Apennine Peninsula has the Alps above it, so you can remember that by saying Alpennine, but that might be tricky. They might call it Alpennine instead of Apennine, so you got to gauge your own kids, but those are just some ideas I had I wanted to share. Okay, then next we did timeline. For timeline, because I have the young kids, we do snack at this point. So as they're eating snack, I go around and say the name on the card and the kids repeat after me. I put them up in order on the board. Then the kids take turns pairing up using a pointer finger, stick thing. They point to them in order as they hear them in the song. Then after that, we split up into 2 different groups and I mixed up the cards and the kids had to put them back on the board in order. And then we sang the song. We didn't listen to it, we sang it to make sure that all the cards were in order. And they all got it. It was good. After timeline, we did science. What are 6 forms of pollution? We did this to the tune of Jack and Jill. I got that from Love Mrs. C. I'm going to link anybody who I've taken inspiration from, I'll link in the description. And if I use any materials that you can buy online, I'll link those in the description as well. Or for things you can find on CC Connected, I'll put those there as well. Okay, that's a lot, but they'll all be there. All right, so for the 6 forms of pollution, I used this printable from CC Connected from the Scribblers section. Sorry, let me find it here in my pile of papers. Okay. All right, so I got these from the Scribbler section. So this showed like noise pollution, and here we have the air pollution and water pollution. You could maybe say that's radioactive, I don't know. I just did air, water, and noise. And as we talked about the different types of pollution, I showed them the hand motions we're going to do for the song. So we did noise, air, water. For land, we squatted down and touched the ground. Then while we were down there, we did this for thermal. And then for radioactive, we jumped up and said radioactive. So I'm going to attempt to sing the song. I'm not super familiar with the Jack and Jill song, but I think it goes like this. The 6 forms of pollution are noise and air and water, land and thermal, then there's radioactive. Yep, so we just sang through the song and did the hand motions. Then for math, we got out our pumpkins again, and we used this printable from CC Connected. And I said the numbers and the kids moved their pumpkins around and repeated after me, just to make sure we knew all the numbers. Then we listened to the song through 3 times, which means it plays the song through 6 times. So these are the 6 different things we did while we were listening to the song. First, we just listened to it. Then we plugged our nose when we sang along to it. Then we galloped around the room like a horse. Then we covered our ears. Then there were karate chops. And the last one was we got under our desk and sang. After that, we did English. First, we reviewed the definition of a pronoun, which is from week 2. We do that each week to really solidify that with the kids. Then I said the words and had them repeat after me. We did that twice. Then we sang the chicken dance song. We sang these to the tune of the chicken dance song. And then we sang through the full chicken dance song, and the kids walked around the desks while they were doing it. They did some chicken arms while they were doing it. And that was it. Then for history, I showed the timeline cards that go along with the history sentence. They're referenced in your foundations guide. There's like a little triangle with a number. Those are the numbers for the timeline cards. So I showed the timeline cards. I also showed a picture of Martin Luther on my phone, a picture of him with the hat on, because we're going to use that for one of the motions for the song. So let me show you what we did for the hand motions. So we did 15, 17, Martin Luther. For Protestant Reformation, we put our hands like we were praying, and we turned around like we were being reformed. For printing, I couldn't think of a good printing hand motion, so we did a hammer, like he was hammering the 95 Thesis. So printing the 95 Thesis. And then for Pope Leo X, we did a Pope hat. Let me get down. Okay, Pope Leo X. And for excommunicate, we did an X with our arms and we leaned back. And for John Calvin, we did a beard like we saw in the timeline card picture, John Calvin. And Reformation, we turned around and did our prayer hands again. So we just sang through that a few times and did the hand motions. And then the last thing we did was Latin. I used this cue card I got from CC Connected. It's Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is practically perfect in every way, and Mary ends with the E sound, so that's how we remember perfect present starts with E. It's a little complicated, but so far the kids are remembering things based off of those cards I'm showing, so it's working. This is to the tune of The Farmer in the Dell. So first I went through all the pronunciations of the endings. I did that twice. They repeated after me. And then we sang the song a few times, and then we got our egg shakers out, and we shook down low, shook up high, shook behind our head, and for the last one we bonked our heads with the egg shakers. And when we were singing through the first 2 times before we got the egg shakers out, at the end when they said perfect, we did this for perfect. Yeah, so that was fun. It was kind of a whirlwind of a day because, like I said, we were just behind on everything. We were just getting back from break. So we're getting back into it. Okay, for review, what we did in class was I showed them this picture of the Wartburg Castle. I got this from Plum Jolly online. It's free. I'll link that in the description. But Wartburg Castle is where Martin Luther hid out when he was in trouble with the Catholic Church. So it goes along with the history sentence. Our church that we meet at has a room with toys they let us use, so I got a bunch of their like Duplo-like blocks, like the big blocks, like Lego blocks, and I put a base out on the table, and then the kids took turns pulling out the review cards, and if any of them got it right, then they took turns putting Legos on the base and building up the Wartburg Castle. And that was it. We're just trying to see how big we can get it. They enjoyed that. The oldest kid in the class, who's about to be 7, he asked if we could do it again next week. So surprisingly, it was a hit. I never know. I never know if the games are going to go over well. So I also had another game, which we didn't get to, but I'll share it with you because I think it's going to be fun. It's seasonal, and I think we'll end up using it another week. But my idea was to use these pumpkins to place them on a map and place them on every spot from a certain week's review. So, for example, if I was doing week 7, I would put these on the Iberian Peninsula, the Balkan Peninsula, Scandinavian, and Apennine Peninsulas. So I'd have them already on the map on the kids' table. And then if anyone gets an answer right, they can put on our monster puppet here and eat the pumpkin off of the map. And that would also help them to review the geography work, because I would say, okay, you can eat the pumpkin off of the Scandinavian peninsula. And they could do that. And then for every 5 pumpkins they got, every kid would get a candy corn or something like that. You can come up with your own point structure, but the point structure I was thinking was, so for every question they answered correctly, one child from the whole group would come up and get 1 pumpkin. So if they got 5 questions right, they'd get 5 points and therefore get a candy corn. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I think we're going to use that another week. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you try out that review game before me and how it goes, and if you like change up the rules or anything. I think it's going to be fun. We had all the fall feels this week. The church we were meeting at had put out some pumpkins, and it was really cold today. It was like the coldest day of the season. Yeah, so it's just feeling nice and cozy. But anyway, I hope you guys have a good week 7, and I'll see you next time.